Amazon Web Services has seen its revenues grow by 16% in Q1 at $21.35 billion, contributing about 17% of Amazon's overall revenues. While growth was ahead of estimates, the pace of growth is slower than the previous quarter. Now, AWS is not immune to the challenges that the tech business is seeing and has also seen job cuts as part of Amazon's plans to lay off. India continues to be a big focus area, though, where AWS does enjoy a leadership position. Having invested about $3.7 billion in India since 2016 to set up its cloud infrastructure and service the market, AWS is ready to make a bigger bet. Joining us now to talk about the global outlook and the India roadmap, I have with me Adam Selipsky, the CEO of AWS. Adam, many thanks for joining us here on the Global Dialogues. Appreciate your time. Before I talk to you about India, Adam, let's talk about the global demand outlook. Clearly, the macroeconomic headwinds are not helping your business at this point in time. You have, of course, talked about the slowdown that we have seen. Your CFO has talked about the fact that revenue trends in April are trending lower by almost 500 basis points. Given where you see yourself today, and I know you believe that in the long term your prospects look strong, but how much pain do you anticipate in the short to the medium term?
Good day, and thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be with you all. I was just in India very recently for an entire week and was just so energized by all the activity there. And that really matches how we do think about the business worldwide. We feel very solid about the outlook for AWS. Customers continue to adopt the cloud, and really all of the reasons why over the past 17 years we've been the leader in this space and the pioneer in it remain true today. So it's true that in the short term, many companies worldwide are cost conscious. There is some belt tightening going on as folks look to optimize their spend on the cloud. And as you mentioned, that's just had a short-term impact just on pure growth rates. But we think that's actually a good and healthy thing for our customers to be doing. We want them to be efficient, and we want them to be really making the best use of their cloud spend possible. So I think companies will spend a period of time doing that cost optimization, and then we'll be ready to reaccelerate. Now, at the same time, I'll say that it's really important to keep on innovating. And we see so many companies not just cost cutting, but actually continuing, given how efficiently they can operate in the cloud, we see so many companies continuing to figure out new offerings, new ways, better ways to reach their customers so that when their part of the economy does turn around, they'll be better positioned than their competitors to capture that demand.
You're right in pointing out, Adam, that this is not AWS specific. We are, of course, seeing many companies having to deal with the kind of slowdown that we are seeing. But I want to pick up on two of the issues that you spoke of. And you said that you do expect your clients to go in for cost optimization, and that is something that you are seeing today. But you also hope that there will be a reacceleration. My question is this cost optimization only a cut in spends at this point in time, or are you actually seeing deferrals take place as well? And when do you anticipate this reacceleration to kick back in? On specifically the issues of what Amazon itself and AWS itself is doing to bring costs down. And, you've been part of the restructuring of jobs that's taken place as well across Amazon, and AWS has been part of that exercise as well. Should we expect more?
Well, first, let me say that in terms of role eliminations, it is clearly never an easy thing for anybody involved. And we've tried very hard to be incredibly respectful of anybody whose role has been eliminated and to offer useful and attractive benefits and packages to help people along their way. That being said, so many companies are going through this type of thing now, and there have been so many role eliminations across many different sectors, including the tech sector worldwide. And it is very important to figure out and then get really focused on our top priorities, the things that matter the most to our customers. And we've really gone through that exercise recently and have really tried hard to say, these are things we're going to put more resources on. We're going to double down in these areas. and of course to deprioritize things which just are no longer as important to our customers. Now, in most cases, that's just meant moving people around between projects, between teams, and so forth. There have been times, of course, where what we've needed to do is to get new skill sets onto the team, and for the most part, those are the cases where we've unfortunately had to eliminate roles. More broadly, we still see many customers investing deeply in the cloud. I was with a Fortune 100 bank last week, and they have already moved hundreds of applications into the cloud onto AWS, and they're looking to do far more of that and to move up to the next 1,000 applications onto the cloud. So despite the economy, we see a lot of customers still leaning into the cloud, not despite the economic uncertainty, but actually because of it. This is the best time to save cost, to not have to make capital expenditure, to have the agility to move faster than competitors, and to create wonderful offerings that are going to really benefit customers for years to come. People who can accelerate out of any short-term economic uncertainty they have are going to be the ones who will be the winners for the years to come. And so while many customers are indeed trying to be frugal with their resources today, they're still investing in the cloud.
You know, it's interesting that you brought up a bank as an example of a client or a customer that is still willing to put money on the cloud and still willing to invest in tech adoption, because what we are seeing today in the U.S. specifically is pain across the BFSI space. So let me just pick up on that with you. You know, which are the sectors that you believe are the most vulnerable in terms of the challenges that we're seeing today? Where do you believe the spends are being impacted the most?
Well, I think you've seen some amount of this happening across industries. I wouldn't say it's any one country. I wouldn't say it's any one sector. And, you know, again, I don't think there's any real new news here in terms of the very unusual economy and number of surprises the world has had the past few years, ranging from the pandemic to, of course, all of the impacts of the war in Ukraine and the impact that that's had. But we still see tremendous signs of optimism. So just to stick with financial services, I was very recently in India, as I mentioned, and spent time with many of the largest banks there. And just one exciting example is Axis Bank. So, of course, Axis is the third largest private sector bank in India, and they've selected AWS as their primary cloud provider. And they're going to work with us to accelerate their digital transformation. And in fact, the bank plans to migrate 70% of their total workloads to the cloud over the next 2 years. And that's going to help them meet their growing demand for digital banking services. They've deployed over 50 mission-critical applications to AWS already, including new loan management systems, video know your customer applications, WhatsApp banking. And in addition, they're going to be moving core IT workloads to the cloud to reduce costs, to improve resiliency, to increase agility, and most important, to enhance their customer experiences. So around the world, and especially in India, we're seeing really, really exciting innovation happening in the cloud.
You know, so let's talk a little bit more about India, because you brought up the Axis Bank example as an example of why you continue to be committed and excited about the India story. You spent a week here, Adam. You started by saying that you were excited by what you saw in India. What does that then translate into in terms of incremental investments? Amazon has invested about $3.7 billion between 2016 and 2022 in India so far. What's the scale of the aspiration that you have for the India market, given how excited you seem to be about it?
Well, you're right. I'm very excited about it. I'm glad that's coming through, because I left India just absolutely excited about what the country is doing, the role of the government, what enterprises and startups are doing. And by the way, that $3.7 billion, that's just Amazon Web Services, AWS, separate from the rest of Amazon's investment. And I'm very pleased to announce today that AWS plans to invest an additional $12.7 billion in our local cloud infrastructure in India by 2030. So on top of the existing investment, we'll be investing another 12.7 for a total of $16.4 billion by the year 2030. And that's going to support over 130 100,000 full-time jobs annually on average in India. And the economic impact is estimated to be over $23 billion of additional GDP in India by 2030. So we're very excited for all of that. We think it's going to be great for the country. We think it's going to be great for employees, for people learning cloud skills, becoming part of the tech and the digital and the cloud economy. And of course, we think it'll be, good business for us as well, because it is such an attractive environment.
Well, that's certainly the big headline coming in from you, Adam. $12.7 billion to be invested in India by AWS by 2030. If you can give me some indication of where this investment is going to go into, what you're going to be spending this money on specifically.
It's really in a whole number of areas. So in 2016, we opened our first large series of data centers. Yes. We call that an infrastructure region. And that first region was in Mumbai, and we continue to grow that significantly. And then last year, we opened up a whole second series of data centers, a second infrastructure region in Hyderabad. And so we anticipate growing all of that infrastructure rapidly between now and 2030. In addition, of course, we'll be investing directly in a very sizable team in India in all the different business functions. So we think that'll be important. And then there are a number of other areas. So we're committed to being 100% renewable energy across all of Amazon by 2025. And we're already over 85% of the way there. And what that means is that we've become the largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy on Earth, 4 times larger than the second largest purchaser. And a lot of that's happening in India. So in order to power our operations there, we've already invested in 6 large utility-scale projects to generate renewable energy, which total over 920 megawatts. That's enough to power almost 1 million average-sized Indian households. So those are renewable energy projects happening inside of India. In addition, we've committed to becoming water positive by 2030. And that means putting more water back into local communities where we operate than we consume. And we're working with nonprofits like WaterAid, like water.org, to improve access to clean water and sanitation. And that's already benefited more than 250,000 people across a number of states since 2020. And finally, I'll just say we're also working really hard on upskilling India's digital workforce. It's a critical initiative. There's going to be a big lack of cloud skills, a big gap between what's needed and the available workforce over the coming years. And we're trying to help close that gap. So since 2017, we've actually helped educate more than 4 million people in India, training them with cloud skills through a lot of different AWS programs and working in concert with local government, local nonprofits, and our local systems integrators and consulting partners in the country.